This podcast contains an English accent that most of our Irish listeners will find offensive. Also, there may be some colourful language that you're going to find less offensive. Now, over to Ryan and Leon. Enjoy the podcast.
I think if you can put a bit of poetry in your brain, it'll pay off. Go for the sonnets. They're the 14 lines of poetry. Usually love poetry, but he wrote an awful lot of them. Some of them are very easy to grasp and understand, and are very moving and reflect one's own life often. Poetry does stay in your mind. My tutor at Cambridge, who had been in the Second World War and a prisoner, said he only kept sane by remembering and repeating to himself the poetry that he'd learnt as a child.
Always thought that Gandalf was a smart man.
Shadowfax showed the meaning of haste.
I think that's quite Shakespearean, wasn't it? Shadowfax show the meaning of haste.
Shadowfax is the horse lord.
Yeah, I know the
show
horse.
The meaning of haste.
That was Ian Mckellen talking on BBC Radio 2 about the value of poetry, remembering poetry. I thought what he was saying initially was, if you remember poems, it keeps you away from things like dementia, which I've heard before about. You know, like, you ever heard like people that can learn music have a more of a chance of pushing away dementia because their brain is always moving. But he's not saying that. He's like, oh, if you're in a prisoner of war,
yeah,
if you've got something to do constantly,
yeah,
you could be. I guess that could be anything.
If your life is shit, poetry can help you get through.
Yeah,
in a sense.
I just have an image of that guy like just rocking back and forth in the corner,
thinking of Shakespeare.
Yeah,
the bard.
Well, we are talking about Shakespeare today.
Oh yeah, we're very sophisticated.
Are you buzzing?
We might as well. I heard a rumour that Shakespeare wasn't actually a real person. It was a collective of artists who used to operate under the name Shakespeare.
So we're starting our section of Shakespeare by basically saying it's a farce.
He's a state of mind.
Shakespeare's a state of mind.
He's not a real man. William Shakespeare was one collective working together. How do you think he wrote so much fucking things?
Where'd you find these bits and pieces?
The ether.
The ether.
The ether. I stick my head out the window.
I live in the ether.
I stick my head out the window and I listen. And when you look past the traffic sounds and the seagulls squawking, you can hear whispers on the wind.
That's quite a creative way of saying it, isn't it?
There you go.
You've been reading some Shakespeare.
It's €50, please.
So after kind of hearing that clip from Ian Mckellen, I was like, right, if he's telling me that I should be learning a sonnet, probably good idea to do so. And Shakespeare gives me the ick. Huge ick.
Did you never read any of his poetry, no?
No. As an no. Unless it's forced on me. Why the fuck would I? Absolutely not.
Have you read any Shakespeare now?
I haven't read any Shakespeare. Well, wait. For this, yes. So what I did, and shout out to the guys at No Sweat Shakespeare, who run a website and Instagram page where they're just lowering the accessibility barrier, let's say, the gate to Shakespeare's work. But I would never do this if it wasn't for Ian Mckellen.
It took Gandalf to fucking make you.
Yeah, but why would you? Well, I'll ask you then. So like, I found reading like plays, like even from Samuel Beckett or John B. Keane, not testing, but like the work from Samuel Beckett forces you to like get into a different place of mind. So that's not even taking into account how difficult it is to understand the backwards language of Shakespeare. It's reading plays is quite tough, I think, sometimes.
Yeah.
So why would I read something that has that? I would never. It's no crack, mate, to read a Shakespearean play.
So yes, you're right. Shakespeare plays are not meant to be read; they're meant to be watched. And if you say, for instance, particularly the Globe Theatre in London, which is modelled on the original Globe that Shakespeare helped build for his shows, there's the peasant seats where you can stand or you can sit. And if you watch a good Shakespeare play, you don't have to speak fucking English. You'll know exactly what's happening. through the body language and the syntax of the actors on the stage. So if you watch a good Shakespeare play with, say, the likes of Mckellen's done a couple of them. There are a few online where you can watch him act out. I think he did King Lear. He's done all different ones as well. And there's loads of them. You can watch Stephen Fry's done taking part in Shakespeare. And if you watch a good Shakespearean actor, play some. Say for instance, I watched. We went to New York.
Yeah, you mentioned
spoke
this
of this
on
before.
Daniel Craig was in the show.
Brilliant. Americans, fucking terrible. And it was because Daniel Craig knew the language well enough to convey that you can watch Macbeth and understand everything he says and have no idea what the Americans are talking about because the emphasis is in the wrong place. It's meant to be watched, not read.
Can you say that you enjoy Shakespeare then?
I enjoy watching good Shakespeare be put on. I don't reading it is difficult. Although say some of them, like say The Merchant of Venice, is an easier one. That's what they do it on, say, in the Irish junior. So you've got the leaving cert, obviously the one, the dreaded leaving cert. That's like the end test of school. But with 3 years or 2 years beforehand, depending if you skip fourth year, there's the junior cert, which is the junior cycle exam, state exam. You usually cover either Romeo and Juliet or The Merchant of Venice. And The Merchant of Venice is actually quite an easy enough read, although it's quite racist towards Jewish people.
Oh, that's not very sound.
They're quite racist towards like openly racist towards Jewish people.
Oh God.
Yeah, there's a guy called Shylock in it, and he's like the Jewish moneylender. And now he doesn't like the person, and he wants to kind of get his revenge on him. But it's supposed to be a comedy. At the end of the day, they're like, haha, look, he gets thwarted. Sorry, spoilers here, I know we're sweating to watch The Merchant of Venice or read The Merchant of Venice.
Can't wait.
But eventually his plot gets thwarted, and they're all like, haha, look at him, the stupid old, Jewish fellow, which is like, this is a comedy. It's like, this didn't age very well.
It's a long. We're talking 500 years.
Yeah, but what's
500?
Yeah, well, yeah, it was around
16th
16th century. 16th century, yeah. So, yeah, but it's an easy enough to play to read.
Well, I have to say, I was pleasantly surprised with what I found with the sonnets, because what Ian McKellen was saying, remember them 14 lines, and they all end really satisfyingly. All these sonnets, because the only lines that rhyme at the end too. And like, to be honest with you, probably just forget reading the rest and just read the end two lines.
Run out the rest.
Kind of like wonderfully summarises each of the stories. The only way I could figure out what sonnet to pick was I had them all on the list. That website, No Sweat Shakespeare, has them all, 150 odd of them. And I just picked the titles that I could understand or felt like I could probably understand. And I actually really enjoyed it. I had like 10 that I read, and I did understand a few of them. Thank you very much indeed.
Look at you.
Yeah.
You'll be a bard soon as well.
And I've picked, and I was going to ask you which one you picked. I picked Sonnet 25, and you said you picked Sonnet 55.
Let me double check with my old telephonic device. Yes, Sonnet 55.
Sonnet 55.
Would you like to go first?
I will go first, actually. And this was by far the best one that I read, because it was, to be fair to the work, like, look at me, who am I? I'm no one. But a lot of the sonnets that I was reading, it was just probably a little bit too, I just find reading the way, I don't even know how you explain it, it's not backwards writing, but like, it's just very tough when you're not used to
the vocabulary,
reading that kind of vocabulary, or even just like, yeah, it's just hard. It's just hard to kind of follow the story.
It's a different way of using the English language.
Yeah.
It's an older form.
But each of them had like real messages that you could take with you into life, and they aren't all about love. I really enjoyed this one, and it's got a little bit of existentialism in it, and like what's important in life. It's called "Let Those who are in favour with their stars." Let those who are in favour with their stars of public honour and proud titles boast, whilst I, whom fortune of such triumph bars, unlooked for joy in that I honour most. Great princes, favourites, their fair leaves spread, but as the marigold at the sun's eye, and in themselves their pride lies buried, for at a frown they in their glory die. The painful warrior, famous for fight, after 1,000 victories once foiled, is from the book of honour raised quite, and all the rest forgot for which he toiled. Then happy I, that love and am beloved, where I may not remove, nor be removed.
That was Sonnet 25.
Let those who are in favour with their stars. The
Lovely.
legacy,
Yeah, that's what it is. It's like
pride, ego. Makes you think, like, it's certainly... it made me think, 'cause, obviously we have a little bit of wanting to... Like anybody who's trying to be successful. Like, you want your work to be shared. You want people to kind of hear your words. And you want, like, people to listen to this show. Even this show is a little bit of, like, building of legacy in a very small way. But once you get a little too obsessed with the story of you, let's say the story of you, you're not winning in life itself. I think you are missing something.
Definitely. And I think I have a question though. Is Shakespeare taught in English schools?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
What would you cover?
We cover the plays, the dramatic work. So, like, the way it would work in England is you'd have, like, the English side of your school, and they teach it through, like, let's say, like, you're 11, 12 years old, you watch, like, a cartoon video of Othello or Macbeth, and that's your entry point. It's always cartoons. So if you have a cartoon Shakespeare in Ireland.
I don't think
I
so.
don't think so. But the old VHS TV brought out.
We had that now.
Yeah.
But
not just for sex ed, it was Shakespeare as well. So you start there, and then when you graduate into, like, 14, 15 years old, yeah, sure, you start to...
From sex ed to shakes ed.
Yeah, shakes ed. So yeah, no, sure. I mean, it's the main thing you're taught. Yeah. And like, I even remember, like, this is, today we're going to do Macbeth or whatever it is. And fucking hell, miss, really? Yeah, we're going to have to... And I guess my pushback on the learning of Shakespeare is I never read another play until I was 19.
Yeah.
So even in my English part of my, like, school education, like, you're leaving certs up to 18. We have a gap of 16 to 18 where you can go vocational career or, like, keep education going. I chose English, and I still wasn't taught another play.
That's
strange. And, like, I only read plays in my degree when I was, like, 2021 at the back end of the creative writing course I was in. And even then it was sure, John P. Keane, Samuel Beckett we taught as well. And that's where you understand the value of, like, reading, like, plays. So I don't really understand why it's taught, to be honest.
It's meant, as I said, like, what they should do is bring students to see a very good production, or even just, obviously we're gone past...
Posh schools do, I think
we're gone past the stage of VHS tables. They have, obviously it's more accessible now. You can watch really good actors like Stephen Fry, like Ian McKellen, perform these plays, and then you'll understand the language and the movement, and it's not meant to be, like, on a page, it just doesn't land as well. My sonnet is,
by the way, you already had one that you knew. That's how the levels that you're on, mate.
But I couldn't find it.
You couldn't find it. Oh, because you didn't remember the number.
I couldn't remember it. I was just looking through. I think I covered this one, but I'm not sure. I have some in the archives. I thought I had it on my cloud, kind of, up in the clouds.
The cloud.
But it's actually on a hard drive somewhere in my house that I have all the college notes. So I actually couldn't find it.
Is it also with a load of Bitcoin that you've been trying to retrieve from a skip?
Yeah. Well, I didn't go to college that too long ago. It was only a couple of years old, But I wouldn't. I had loads. I was like, I'm never going to fucking use this again. Shakespearean sonnets. But look,
well,
who knew?
We've come full circle.
So this is Sonnet 55. The language is actually quite easy considering. So, Sonnet 55. Not marble, nor the gilded monuments of princes shall outlive this powerful rhyme, but you shall shine more bright in these contents than unswept stone, besmeared with sluttish time. When wasteful war shall statues overturn, and broils root out the work of masonry, nor Mars his sword, nor war's quick fire shall burn the living record of your memory. 'Gainst death and all oblivious enmity shall you pace forth. Your praise shall still find room, even in the eyes of all posterity, that wear this world out to the ending doom. So, till the judgment that yourself arise. You live in this and dwell in lovers' eyes.
That was Sonnet 55. Not too dissimilar to Sonnet 25.
Not too dissimilar, but obviously like slightly different. But I think it's not, as I said, it's a bit like Legacy, but it's all about kind of war and how, you know, war will destroy things, but our love. You know, and obviously there's a theme to sonnets. They're all love poems. They're all like, you know, but it could be different kinds of love. But he's obviously saying, like, you know, things that will stand the test of time can be destroyed by things like war and time, but our love will be infinite. So
yeah,
but like it's a nice one, and the language, as I said, it's not "doth thou shine upon my fucking winter's brow." Fuck off. Just tell me in
yeah.
English.
But I read that the sonnets that Shakespeare wrote are the back end of his life.
Yeah.
So like, you know, not that I don't even know how long he's lived for, but I'm not sure if that was different, like 1620, 1640. Like, what is the linguistic difference between them?
Realistically speaking, he probably only lived about 12 now and then times. You know, that was the life expectancy back then. They all had syphilis.
Yeah.
Not fucking syphilis and wooden teeth. So,
fuck's sake.
But then again, you never know, because he might not have existed.
It might have been a clan.
The clan. The Wu-Tang Shakespeare clan.
I have to say, I enjoyed that a lot more than I thought.
It's surprising. Sometimes,
Isn't
you know,
it?
you have to get into the weeds to find yourself a Ginny Joe. I don't fucking know. Reading too much Shakespeare, here I am.
Yeah. I enjoyed that a lot. Not that I think I'll do this again.
No,
absolutely not. There's so much other stuff to read.
You'd be like, oh, let me get my Shakespearean sonnet book out now.
God, no. But actually, this brings me on to how I found the next poem I want to share with you. So, I am always now on the lookout for short stories from like Penguin Classics, those tiny little books from like the names of which we know of, like the philosophers, the poets. And I picked up a copy in Dublin Airport of The Old Man and the Sea.
Fabulous book.
In Dublin Airport, as I was on the way to Germany on a lad's holiday to watch England play football. That's the kind of bloke I am. My friend actually was like, why are you buying Hemingway?
You're essentially going on a fucking football with stags.
In my head, I'm like, there's going to be a day I'm going to fucking need to get out of you lot's space and just read
about a man fishing.
Yeah.
The simple things in life.
And I guess I love picking up these small books because I'm like, I've read short stories from Tolstoy, from Albert Camus.
Yeah.
Like I have that small Penguin Classic book now, Creating Dangerously, which is basically his lecture on the value of creativity.
This is Camus.
Camus, yeah. But going back to Hemingway, I'm just saying like that they're so good to pick up and they're so easy and they're so cheap. Like that was £3. But Hemingway, The Old Man and the Sea, I read it in Cologne on a bit of a day of like getting away from the lads and being hungover, and I've never heard of it before. I've read Hemingway before, and I guess like my thing with Hemingway now is like I loved it. I loved reading his stories before. Like I've got For Whom the Bell Tolls, and I've got The Sun Also Rises. But I remember being on a London tube and I was like 23, 24, and like, you know, when you're that young and you're interested in reading, you think you're the dog's bollocks, basically. You're walking around in coffee shops on the weekend going, this is what I like to do. And I remember being on a tube and reading The Sun Also Rises.
Yeah.
And the guy across from me was also reading The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway. And I thought, you know what, I'm not as cool as I think.
Ernest Hemingway, they call him Papa. They call him Papa. Papa Hemingway. Don't know why they call him Papa. But there's so many things about that man to unpack. We could do a whole fucking episode. I love it. Like,
yeah.
Hyper masculine kind of.
The game hunting.
Yeah. Do you know why they reckon he was so hyper masculine? As a child, his mother dressed him up as a girl.
Oh.
So he spent his, like, as a baby and as a young toddler dressed. And because his mother really wanted a girl.
Oh, God.
So that's, they reckon, triggered the whole hyper masculine kind of hunting and smoking pipes and going
not being
fishing.
Very nice about women.
There's that,
yeah,
not being very nice about women, yeah. And then like also there's the like there's a mad story I heard of Ernest Hemingway convincing the Cuban government to give him bazookas for him and his mates to go out on a boat and hunt enemy submarines. And
Just
he
a mad bastard.
just went out and got pissed and fired them into the water.
Oh
Never
my.
caught any submarines,
No, I'd say you wouldn't.
but was just firing bazookas off his boat, getting locked.
Wow.
He also boasts the alleged shortest short story ever written.
What's that called now?
So it's baby shoes for sale, never worn.
Oh, wow.
That's it.
Doesn't that get you thinking?
Because he was supposedly, the whole story behind it was they had a bet, probably a drunken bet, and they were trying to see who could write the shortest short story. And obviously a short story is anything that invokes an emotion from somebody. So you think of baby shoes for sale, never worn, is like, oh, you know, maybe someone got too many shoes. But then you're thinking they were never worn. What else could that happen? And then it kind of pulls in the heartstrings. So, like, you know, there's a lot of layers to that. The 6 words.
What I really like about him. There are some things I don't particularly like about his character, but like what I really like about his words is he's a sniper of words. Like there's no, like, he talks about love. So the Old Man in the Sea talks about basically what the message is. What do you do on your last days of like face with your own demise? And also faced with death, because like he's attacked by sharks as he goes to try and hunt his last big fish. And there's bits of it which is like him wishing that he had people helping him. Like there's a young boy that he knows who like loves him, and he loves the boy. He's wishing as he's being like faced with the moment of like, right, do you sink or fucking swim? Like you know, you used to be strong. Do you have it in you? And he's talking about the boy, and he wishes he was there. But the way he speaks about the love between the two characters and the visceral kind of experience of being on your last days and knowing that you've got to grab something, he's so harsh with his delivery with the words. There's like it's just so it paints a picture with it's almost as like, how do I convey this with the shortest amount of words possible? Yeah,
he doesn't dance around that. He cuts straight to the point.
Straight to the point.
Short, sharp sentences. The structure of everything. And there's no bullshit.
No, no bullshit.
But he's talking about obviously the platonic love between the man and the boy. We don't want to ruin the end and give it away. But
no, everyone should read it. It's only like 100 pages long, but it's just a great story.
I remember reading it as well a couple of years ago. It's a fabulous book because it's so simple and like. But there's a great quote by Hemingway because they're talking about like, what's the context, what's the subtext, and he wrote back saying, "It's just between a man and a fucking fish." That's it.
Yeah,
in pure Hemingway. And then like you can see like the Hemingway having serious like kind of like then you have like Hunter S. Thompson was a massive fan of Papa Hemingway, and that's where you can see Hunter S. Thompson's kind of words having shape and having a Hemingway kind of esque hyper masculine kind of riding motorcycles really fast and firing huge guns kind of style to it, because he saw people that came before him, Jack Kerouac and stuff like that, you know, all those kind of writers where they're trying to portray this kind of manly figure, but then like, look how Hemingway ended.
Yeah, for sure. I remember actually reading The Sun Also Rises, and the way he speaks about the main woman in the story who has the men that are chasing her around, like Papillonia. Is that what it's called? Where the bulls run? Papillonia. Is that right?
It could be.
Yeah, but that's the story. It's basically a bit of a quest for a group of friends with like men who feel like they're being tricked by this woman, who seems to be breadcrumbing them and having a lot of fun, agonizing them because she's unattainable. But then the way you think about his work in general, it puts women. A lot of it stuff puts women on a pedestal so high that like you don't know them.
Yeah.
And like even in this poem I'm going to share now, there's a few sentences like, did you ever speak to a woman before? Like, you ever meet one? Because they're not like this.
Yeah. There's a kind of detachment from the real world.
Yeah.
And his expectation of what the woman figure is.
Yeah.
Distorted kind of.
And I'm going to share this quite, not a controversial poem, but a poem that, one of his most famous ones is the poem is from Ernest Hemingway, and it's called Advice to a Son. Never trust a white man. Never kill a Jew. Never sign a contract. never rent a pew. Don't enlist in armies, nor marry many wives. Never write for magazines, never scratch your hives. Always put paper on the seat. Don't believe in wars. Keep yourself both clean and neat. Never marry whores. Never pay a blackmailer. Never go to law. Never trust a publisher, or you'll sleep on straw. All your friends will leave you. All your friends will die. So lead a clean and wholesome life and join them in the sky.
That was Advice to a Son by the great Ernest Hemingway.
Some good advice in there, wasn't there?
Pretty good for a misogynist bastard.
There's no doubt that Hemingway is a misogynist.
There's obviously has to be a separation from art and artist, you know, to some degree. But he is phenomenal at his craft, or he was, like, as a writer.
Yeah, for sure.
He is one of the greats for a reason. So,
have you ever seen the film that he doesn't make an appearance in, but there's an Owen Wilson film called Midnight in Paris?
Heard of it?
Oh,
I'm thinking of.
You'd love it.
Isn't there like a porno called something like that?
Well, I know what you've been watching.
One Night in Paris.
Maybe. Well,
I
that's
think
the Paris Hilton.
Hilton.
Wait, Ernest Hemingway does not ride Paris Hilton. Just to let you know. No,
he probably would.
Filthy bastard.
Dirty man. No,
Midnight in Paris is an Owen Wilson film. You'll love this. It's basically the story of an American writer who, in his dreams, goes to Paris in the 1910s, maybe 1920s, and he ends up hanging out with F. Scott Fitzgerald, Ernest Hemingway, Van Gogh as well. Wow. Just people from like all creative areas of like the 100-year span of like romantic. What would you call that movement? Like
what's the modernist?
Modernist movement. Yeah. And they just end up going to parties, and this like American guy's like, wow, and was like, wow, Picasso. What's going? And Ernest Hemingway is like in a game hunting outfit with a rifle, shooting at people. It's a brilliant movie actually. I love that. It's called Midnight in Paris.
Sure, it's not Night at the Museum.
No, that isn't Night in the Museum. Can't believe you haven't watched this movie.
I'm gonna have to watch it.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Really good.
Have to watch it.
Wow.
Monsieur, bonjour. Wow.
We got an email from someone a couple of weeks back. Now, this happens now and again, doesn't it? When we get an email from someone, we're like, this is why we bother.
Yeah, people actually listen.
But people do listen, and it seems like sometimes it changes things.
Yeah, which is great. It's great to hear that us talking shite in your kitchen has an impact.
Yeah, and I want to share the email with you. So the email we received, and it's called A Few Poems. Hi, Ryan and Leon. For the last few days, I've been absorbed, entertained, and inspired by the podcast, which I stumbled across at the start of the week. You're doing a great thing. Keep it up. Now that I know you like running, this is when we did the running poem, Runners High, running rhyme and poems that make you smile, I'm sending you a few examples of what I do. I've always written verse for the usual family celebrations and commemorations, but those mad months of lockdown in 2020 made me write a lot more. My son is a TikToker. Check him out, and we'll share the link to Josh's TikTok later on. Check for stories from his 2 years driving a tuk-tuk from Kenya to Cape Town with 3 mates. He suggested I start putting my poems on there, TikTok. So I started posting, and 4.5 years on, these are the results. And he shared the TikTok. I'm from Manchester, saw John Cooper Clarke on stage when I was 17 and was immediately smitten. I also loved Pam Ayres when I saw her as a kid on Opportunity Knocks. We mentioned her on the show. And I've recently discovered so many contemporary poets that thrill and inspire me. Carol Ann Duffy, Mike Garry, love Mike Garry, Hannah Lowe, Liz Berry and Brian Bilston have all made a big impression. My mum was from Belfast and my wife's family are from Derry and Cavan, so naturally I love Irish poetry and I've discovered there is a lot more out there than Seamus Heaney. We know that. Glad that you do as well, Andy. Great though he is. Michael Longley and Paul Muldoon, are recent discoveries I'll keep going back to. And now you guys. Thank you, mate. Anyway, enough blether. Thanks for continuing to broaden my understanding of poetry and fighting the good fight for an art form that we all need more of. Cheers. Andy Porter.
What a gentleman.
An absolute gentleman. And not just a gentleman, but a bloody great poet as well.
Fucking great poet.
Yeah.
Great poet.
And he was kind enough to send us a couple. And then just read you some of these titles. So here we go. Sleeping with Alexa. Barista Blues. So like amazing. But what are your favourites that you overruled? Because I wanted to share a different one. You wanted to share Death of a DIY Man.
I just think it's a great poem. It just gave me a giggle. And it's kind of a segue from the hyper-masculine El Papa Hemingway to the modern hyper-masculine image of the man in the tool shed.
Oh, brilliant.
So I thought it'd be a good way to kind of go between the two. So
yeah.
I'm going to read Death of a DIY Man by Andy Porter. There's a Viking warrior round the back with a multi-tool and a power pack. Keeps nuts and bolts in a padlocked sack. He's a DIY man, he's building a shack. With his manic screw-fix lust, he'll transform that hedge into dust. It makes no odds, he's not fussed. He's a DIY man, born to rust. He wears a John Deere branded shirt, recharges himself when he feels inert. Watch out for the chainsaw, this will hurt. He's a DIY man, stay alert. He totes a jackhammer from the vault, keeps all his gear in a lead-lined vault. Destroying concrete's a binaural assault. He's a DIY man, nobody's fault. Instruction manuals, talks like he wrote 'em. Ways to stay safe, he likes to promote 'em. Swing that strimmer, mind your scrotum. He's a DIY man, general factotum. At weekend, he's Attila the Hun with a cordless drill and a staple gun. Hiring a Kangos is a deal of fun. He's a DIY man, time to run. His drill bit's smoking, it starts to smell. When he's cranking up the decibels, being in his proximity's a living hell. He's a DIY man, can't you tell? He lives on the edge in his high-vis vest. He's a no-nails addict, he once confessed. He's widely regarded as a bit of a pest. He's a DIY man, give it a rest. His nirvana is a Husqvarna or a fossil-fueled still. By the bed he keeps a strimmer cord reel. When his glasses steam up, he does it by feel. He's a DIY man, keep it real. He lives for the crushing rhythmic sounds of the cement mixer turning round and round and round and round and round and round. He's a DIY man, more lost than found. His battery's lithium, no need to check. He's tantalised just like his deck. His marriage is a total wreck. He's a DIY man, hold a sec. There's something wrong, an electrical arc. This high voltage stuff's no walk in the park. He was hanging lights, now it's gone dark. He's a DIY man, no bright spark. Whilst he lacked application and aptitude at school, when it came to home maintenance he was nobody's fool. He went out with a bang, broke his golden rule. He was a DIY man, the ultimate tool.
That was Death of a DIY Man by Andy Porter.
Fucking great, isn't it?
Great.
I couldn't.
Yeah.
I couldn't stop laughing.
You could watch me watching you. I was absolutely losing my mind.
I couldn't focus on the poem because I was laughing so much internally while I was reading it. It's fucking brilliant.
Yeah. We'll share Andy's social media in the post that we do for the show, but definitely give him a watch. He's got loads of videos on TikTok. His son's actually a TikTok star.
Yeah.
Actually, we saw him. Yeah, he's traveling. What, just with a backpack around the world, isn't he? Like, he's still out there, so
Pretty cool.
pretty cool. Not for me though.
Do you know, if you've got a dad like that writing poems, you know, he's got a good benchmark to start, you know.
Yeah.
It's good crack.
Give him a follow. Thanks, Andy. The agony aunt is back. We've left her stewing. I think the last time we heard from her, was she in the brewery?
Do you know what? I actually said to her, I goes, look, I'm going to need a poem. And she said, look, this is a very serious topic. It
is a very serious topic. So we got an agony aunt in, and the topic is: questioning my writing makes me question my validation of my feelings. Makes sense. And it you should see the notes on my phone.
Yeah.
Of me just writing down, like, in the third person, like, Ryan, this is what happened to you today. And then me reading it again going, yeah, that's nonsense, and then just moving on with my life.
I said to the agony aunt, I'm going to need a poem for this. This is going to be a serious poem. And she said, you know what, meet me in Trinity College in the library by the Book of Kells. I'll have a poem ready for you.
The most serious place in the world.
The most serious place, the most serious book. Supposedly the Book of Kells, if there's a fire, that book just drops into like a safe.
Fuck.
So maybe you'll need this poem to drop into a safe. I don't know, in case if you're ever stuck in a prisoner of war camp and you need a poem to read, perhaps you could read this one from the agony aunt.
Nice.
Do you know what I mean? Straight from the Trinity. She's a scholar. Do you know? She's straight from the Trinity Library. This poem she handed to me on a scroll.
Fucking hell.
It's called The Imposter.
The Imposter.
I've written some words and don't know how I feel. With these introspective perspectives, I'm not sure if I'm the real deal, see. I'm worried my emotions carry notions with every lyric I write. And in spite of everything I have penned, I can't seem to end up feeling honest. Like I'm lying to myself. Should I put these pages on a shelf and just forget them? Let those scribbles gather dust and allow them to rust without ever sharing them, even though I've put attention and care into them. But that's the life of an imposter who struggle to smuggle themselves onto life's creative roster. Maybe I'm wrong. Perhaps these lines hold meaning and depth that is strong enough to allow myself and others to carry on. How will I know? I suppose with pen in hand, out of the blue and into the black I shall go.
That was The Imposter by our agony aunt.
She's doing well, isn't she?
Well, I've missed her, and that was the reason I've missed her.
She's on holidays.
She's fucked off now, is she?
She got a cheap Ryanair flight.
It's going to be tough to get her for the next episode then.
Yeah, well, you never know. She could be back. She's like Pam Ayres. She's a jet setter.
I hear what she's saying, and I hear what both the agony aunt and our contributor was asking. I feel like there's a fine line, because the reason we write a lot of the time is to figure out and maybe simmer down our busy brains. So, like, for instance, with me, let's say like I'm anxious about something. Let me pick something. So maybe growing up or having children, let's say, and I write a poem called Fatherhood, and it's a list of me just like vomiting on a page all the reasons why I'm scared. And once it's out there, it's there to be doused a little bit, because that's the whole point of it. So you almost want it to be raised up to be read, but not to the point to be put in stone, because you don't want to be too serious, because the whole reason is to empty it from your heavy heart. Yeah. Does that make sense? So like, because you don't want it to be too serious. That's why it's not in your brain anymore. That's why it's out there. Yeah. There's like the trivial. It's not like making your emotions trivial, but the whole point of getting out there is to question it.
Well, there's a dislocation then from your own thoughts, and there's also, I think we write for validation, and not for the validation in the sense that you write something and someone else to go, this is great. It's a validation of your own feelings. And for you to go, I'm feeling a very intense emotion, I'm going to write about it onto a page. It takes it out of my head and onto the page, and then it's not in me anymore. It's now something for me to analyse from an abstractive kind of perspective. And I can then look at it and go, maybe I shouldn't be so worried. It's kind of actually a little bit silly, or maybe I should take a look at my life and how I feel about a certain situation, and maybe I should change it, or what can I do to make it better. It's a validation of everything you feel and everything you think about is worthy and it's real, and it's part of the human experience. But you don't have to spend your whole life worrying about your thoughts and emotions. They're just thoughts and emotions, you know. But they are real, and you should definitely not run away from them or think that they're silly. Pay them mind, but they don't let them rule your life. You know?
I guess that's why we, like you said, that's why we write them down.
She's fucking great, the old agony aunt.
Yeah, Jesus
She's
Christ.
a heavy bitch with her old dense words. She gets you. She gets you. It's not all fun and games about STI clinics.
No,
Do you know
those
what I
are
mean?
good though.
She can pull out good poems when she wants.
We'll re-welcome the agony aunt back into the world. I'm not sure if she's here next week, but after that, I'm sure she'll be around.
It's the summertime.
I've missed her.
She's a busy woman. She does be jet setting all the time, you know. She could be in Barbados next week, you never know. But she gave me this conch to blow if I ever need her. I have to stand on top of the roof and blow the conch, and she'll listen. She'll come.
But I think that's just that's where your head's at, because with Gandalf, Lord of the Rings at the start. In my head, when you're talking, I was like, oh, you went to call the agony aunt, you have to light up a batch of hay at the top of a hill, and the lanterns get kind of
the beacons.
Beacons.
But what she did say to me was, on the third day, you blow the conch and look to the east or the west, whichever way she's coming, whatever way the wind's blowing, and you'll see her on Shadowfax.
On Shadowfax,
showing the meaning of face.
Shadowfax, yeah. Wow, so that was a lot different to the last episode that we did, Kendrick Lamar and Jay-Z and stuff.
We're going back to our poetical roots.
But you know, that's how wide-reaching our cultural spectrum is.
Look, we just
just know everything.
That's what we just live off wine and cheese and notions.
Yeah, definitely notions.
Oh, tell me, give us a bag of freeze-dried notions, I'll snort them.
Next week, we'll figure it out. I don't know what we're going to talk about. We'll figure it out. But either way, you know, like Andy wrote into us, we always love hearing from our listeners. So email us, thepoetrysteppodcast@gmail.com. Poetry is always welcome in the DMs on Instagram and TikTok. Obviously, like, and maybe I need to say this, because we got a comment on TikTok when we shared the Green Chatton interview with Jules Holland. We don't know these two people. They weren't in my kitchen talking. Someone was like, this isn't from your show, it's from the Jules Holland show. And I just said, I know.
How do they know this? We're not part of the Jules Holland show. They don't know Atten.
We weren't.
We could be. It's
we
the power of the
though.
internet.
We don't know them.
We could be Atten. I could be Jules Holland right now. You wouldn't know.
So the clip at the start of the show is we don't know Ian, and the start of the last show, Jay-Z, we don't know him either.
I was in the chipper with him last night. What are you talking about?
No, you weren't.
It was. You got a fresh cod and chips. And a garlic dip as well. He says, look, I need a bit just to dip my chips in.
Lord of the Onion Rings. Thank you very much indeed. And that's how we wrap it up.
That's how we wrap it up.
Leon, thanks for your time.
Always a pleasure, never a chore, baby.
See you later.